Welcome back to your monthly technology training by yours truly, Mrs. Hartley. I am the technology liaison responsible for the training at North Clayton High School, and I'll go ahead and get straight into your September training. I've created this slide deck for you to be able to access your training on the Coach's Corner in Canvas, and that should make it a lot less confusing or a little more straightforward for you to be able to access all your resources in one hub. So these particular months are hyperlinked. Let me get straight into your September training. So if you click on September, you'll automatically make it to this particular slide and will provide you resources to always be able to sign in if you missed a training that's in person or you would like to go back and access your resources. Today, without any further ado, I'd want to go ahead and give you the session materials, and the title of today's training is Accessibility for All Learners. Of course, this is a little later on in the month, but we always have upcoming trainings on the second Tuesday of the month that will provide you another look at the various topics that we've already covered or are going to cover, and as well as the third Tuesday of the month, which is provided to you by the digital learning specialists that are so easy to access either through our websites or through appointments that they've emailed you to make an appointment on the calendar. So today are and without going into an icebreaker, of course, we're not here in person, but I'll go ahead and give you the resource so you can actually utilize that with your students if there's something you're interested in doing. And we will focus on a couple of different things. And sometimes the teachers that I've trained before do not see the value in learning certain resources or relearning certain resources because they already feel so familiar with them. But in this case, what I have to remind myself, it is not only the teachers that need the training, but just from a classroom experience, I noticed that a lot of students do not know how to use the basic tools when it comes to Google Slides, Google Docs, or even uh, they don't use Google Sheets a lot unless you ask them to, but they just don't know how to use simple things like font formatting, uh, being able to create an outline or do certain things that will make it easier for them, especially if they are learners that have specific disabilities or learning restrictions. And we would like for all of our learners to have access. So that's the basic purpose of today's training. So with any questions that you may have, feel free to email me at sonia.hartley@clayton.k12.ga.us. And I'll go ahead and make sure I have that information for you on the slide deck that I've showed you previously. So we're going to go ahead and start right off with something that made us technology liaisons realize that having certain learning disabilities, or even they don't always have to be limited to maybe dyslexia or not being able to comprehend your reading comprehension, but they can actually be physical disabilities. And what we were asked to do, we were invited into a Google Jam. And if you ever have any questions in regards to how to utilize this Google Jam for your classroom, for your students, then feel free to reach out to me. I'll make sure that I can get you that information either within a short video, or you feel free to come by my room on the ninth grade hall, room 141. I'll be more than glad to help you and assist you with that. This particular activity, and just make sure that when you provide access to multiple editors in an activity, that you make that, and I just said the word, you make this an editable activity. So as you are going into the share setting, make sure you change that restriction to Clayton County Public Schools, and make sure that those that you give access to that have access to the link are able to edit. There we go. So that's just a real quick glimpse at Google Jam if you'd like to use it for an activity in your classroom. But we were asked to go ahead and pick a slide and stick our name to the Google slide of our choice. Obviously, there's only 20 slides. That's very visible right here. I'm on slide one, but we were asked to grab a sticky note, which is here on the left hand side, and write our name. So in that turn, we are basically claiming that slide. So if you have your ask your students to participate, it could be actually fun if you do this maze or if it's something similar to it with two students per slide. You just make sure that you have in mind exactly how that's going to work in terms of collaboration. So I'm on this slide by myself, and we were asked to use our right hand to find the exit going through the maze, which I enjoy doing mazes, so it wasn't that difficult in terms of finding the exit. And I'm not going to do it now. Just consider that as something that you could do as a fun activity to get students to understand that not everyone has the same abilities as the next person. Just since we learn so much about social emotional learning, that there's nothing wrong to um, having something else, a strength and having weaknesses at times. I don't want to overplay that, but so we're asked to do it with our dominant hand. For some people, it's the left, some people, it's the right. In my case, it's the right hand. And I went ahead and we were timed to find the exit down here. So I ended up, taking a breather. It wasn't too difficult, but then there came to catch. We were asked within that same time period to use the non-dominant hand and then find our way to the exit. Now, the good part about it, since the dominant hand had already somewhat showed me the way, and then I switched color with my pen, who the markers and pens are over here in the eraser. But then when I'm asked to do this with a non-dominant hand, it makes it more difficult, especially if you did not have a guide like the guide that I had prior, because my focus now was basically just to retrace the way that I've already gone once. But if you don't have that guide, you're actually automatically having to do both the focusing on doing this with the opposite hand, because some people don't have the use of both hands. Consider that. And it became a little challenging, but some of the teachers and technology liaisons that trained with me thought it was actually a fun challenge. So consider that. And as you create activities for your students, remember that everyone does not learn or access what we take for granted the same way. So going straight into that, with that being said, going to focus on showing you how to utilize some of the resources that are available on Google Slides and Google Docs. So those are the two Workspace applications that we're using today. So let me go ahead and go straight into Google Doc. All right, so just to make you aware, the first thing I would make sure to either utilize myself or show my students how to actually um, change text from normal to a heading. So if you highlight the text, then you're actually able to choose the format on if you like this text to be, let's see. Okay, hold on now. Here we go. Once I highlight the text, and this is just because I'm so accustomed to doing it, I actually didn't go back to practice doing it again, but it's just a matter of a trial and error. Uh, Normal text is right here, and then being able to change it to heading, or there's various different types of headings, which this organization allows students or those people that you are trying to reach within the activity or the message that you're sending, because this could be maybe for a newsletter that you send to your parents, or an activity that you want your students to utilize that comes in different parts, part A, B, or C, or has various steps having headers. makes it visually more appealing and visually more accessible. And sometimes we have to look at how we visualize things to make sure that they are um, a positive reinforcement. You don't want it to be a hindrance, because I've seen a lot of texts, I've seen resumes, I've seen different documents where the creator does not consider on the visual. It's not just always visually because it's aesthetically pleasing, it needs to be easy on the eye. And we had a conversation just in terms of what colors are more um, easier on the eye, and students will tell you what works for them, especially if they're reading from the board. But the next thing I would like to show you is just how to change the typography, which is basic. Now, this is, if you didn't already know, make sure you highlight whatever that is you'd like to change at the moment. And this is just me showing you that you find something that's not compromising to maybe students that have problems with vision, students that may have problems with epilepsy, seizures, or students or your audience that may have a difficult time reading cursive. So there were some suggestions in terms of Arial. Arial was mentioned, was a good. I like Comic Sans, but that's one of my favorite. You just always have to kind of play with it to see how your text looks to the viewer. So Georgia can have some questionable text, and so can let me see, Aladdin or any of the cursive text. So let me go back to put that on Arial. All right. And I also want to make sure that you utilize the style of your text, bold, slanted, of course. And just to remind you that since students are familiar with the underlined feature usually being associated with some type of hyperlink, that you don't overuse underline. Maybe just try to stick with the hyperlink feature being the only time you use the underline. So I'll take that back off. And of course, the sizing makes a difference, especially if you're asking your students to take notes and you're taking notes from a distance in the room. All right. Another fun thing that I've seen in the past and I've utilized all the time is being able to change the background. We're so used to only having a black and white format on text. So for you to be able to access a background change, click on File, go all the way down on your drop down under File and access Page Setup. There we go. You have an option of either having a pageless page setup or the traditional page setup. And once you click on page color, let me make sure and understand why it's not giving me the page color. Okay, let me go back. And what I did not stop highlighting. So once you don't stop your highlighting, it focuses on just that one particular section on the page that you're editing. So let's go back. It's a good review. Click on File, pull down to Page Setup, and once you access Page Setup, here we go. The color is finally back. And I actually love doing this for my particular students because we in my class actually have certain sections and units for certain colors. So unit 1 was in green, and I utilized that for my notes as well. And the unit 1 was in green, and now we're actually utilizing pink since it's so close. Well, it's October now, so if I can't get anything really close to pink, then I tried my best to get as close as possible. So once you choose your color, I know this color is a little subtle, but I like it. So it gives you that underline, that tone that you may need to put some type of category to what your assignment is or your flyer. I don't suggest for you to print that color, but if you're providing students with work, then being able to you utilize that green was unit 1, pink is unit 2, say purple is unit 3, whatever, however your setup is, and you can somewhat align that to your teaching so students can actually remember how and where to access certain resources that you provide for them. Um, Another thing that I've utilized quite a bit is being able to have some type of page structure when it comes to outlining in tables. And I love tables. Tables are my friend. So what I've done is I click on insert and I find my tables. And tables for, I'm assuming for any subject area would be of great help because you're able to section off various topics you like to separate, and for students to be able to somewhat focus in on different things without getting confused. So I'll just do 3 over and 3 down, and it'll automatically insert. And you can, if anything, if you choose to, go ahead and change the color within each section. And that's exactly what I did right here. If you think, remember back on the very first slide I had. So these tools are accessible on slides as well as on Google Docs. So let me go back. And that's basically how you can, let me go up some for you to be able to look at a little better. Here we have it, and I still have my bucket open, and you can go ahead and choose a different color and it'll separate it so you can categorize to your liking. And I'll just do another one. And you, of course, can change the font and everything that you choose to in each section as well. But I don't go that far unless I do a choice board. This is actually a great way to create a choice board. All right, well, let's see. I want you to understand that even as we get older, being able to use some of these tools for ourselves, or being able to find ways to better um, our time usage of time, using voice typing is going to be my next new best friend. I use it on my phone, but I don't really use it on Google Docs often. So clicking on tools and then finding the voice typing option, you'll get the very first time that you utilize this voice typing is going to ask you for permission, but mine is already on. And as I am talking, the text is actually appearing on the page. Is that not the neatest thing that you've ever seen before? And the beauty of it is, if you are um, lacking on your punctuation, or if you need to make some adjustments to make your words flow a little better, it's a lot easier to do it like this. And see, it's still going. It's a lot easier to do it like this, not just for yourself, but for those students that cannot keep up or have a difficult time completing their homework because they don't see the purpose, or they don't see the end, the light at the end of the tunnel, to be able to complete the task. If they can just go in there and type their assignment in this format, it opens a whole nother another box of opportunities for our learners. So let me go ahead and stop that. And one more time, this is the another neat thing is you can change it to all these different languages. So your voice typing can access a plethora of different types of languages. All right, I just thought that was so neat. And let's see, what is the last thing that I have for you today to make learning for all so much more accessible? I would say the last thing that I have, and if you have any questions moving forward, please feel free to contact me once again through email or through stopping by my classroom. Is another thing that I really enjoy. Let's go to our September, and as you can tell, this is a work in progress, and I actually love this format. It did not take me very long to create it, but I can actually use it for my students as well. And this is how I present my recovery options, just not quite as fancy as I've done it for you all. All right, let's go to the slide deck that I like to use. And let me just tell you what I'm doing. I'm going to use live closed captioning. So this is the best tool for those. I have a few students in my class now that have difficulties learning the English language because they are English language learners. So how do we do this? You go ahead and open your slideshow, and as the presenter that trained me on this, as she calls it, you utilize the little skinny, she called him a skinny snowman. If you see where I'm on the bottom left hand corner of my slide deck, I click the little skinny snowman and it gives me options, and voila, here is closed caption in the preferences. So let me go ahead and maybe position it at the top. Let me go back and not only do that, let me just make sure. Text position at the top. Text size, let me make it large just to be extra. And here we go. Let me turn on the closed caption. The live closed caption will appear on the top of the page. I thought this was the neatest thing. And you can continue to do this for your learners that have a difficulty somewhat keeping up with what you're saying, because these students now, and I notice this oftentimes when they ask for me to turn on a closed caption when I play YouTube videos for the class, that they are so dependent, even if we're not enunciating correctly, or they would just like to write bits and pieces down of what you're saying. It is a game changer because it gives them an opportunity to not only hear you, they can see what you're saying as well. Something someone once told me, figure out if you're a good listener, if you're a good reader, and it kind of gives you an opportunity to work on what you're not that good at. So, and it's still going, neatest thing ever. So this is really all that I have for today. I went and made sure that I had some of the resources attached that you may have missed, since this particular training was delivered via video. I look forward to working with each and every one of you in person on the next for the October training. And if you have any questions, you know how to reach me. The very last slide of this slide deck that you can access in the Coach's Corner will have other resources. As I collect them, I will pass them on to you. So this will always be a live, living document that I consistently work on. Remember, the tools that I've given you are available for Google Docs and Google Slides. And all I can say is I hope you had a wonderful beginning of your school year, and I look forward to working with you for the rest of the semester and those thereafter.